ask all the members of Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church to please stand, and I invite Reverend Sean to join me up here. The act of installation embodies a covenant between the members of a congregation and the minister that it has chosen. It consecrates the bond between us, both the pledge of the minister to serve the community and our pledge to support the new ministry. On this day, we ask promises of Reverend Sean, and she in turn asks promises of us. So, I ask the members of this congregation, are you ready to covenant together for this purpose?
We are.
Reverend Sean, in the democratic spirit of our tradition, by vote of the congregation, we have chosen you as our minister. Ever mindful of the great traditions of our heritage and of this church, and mindful of its vast promise to our communities of faith and the world, we look to you for moral leadership, religious insight, and spiritual guidance. Are you ready to covenant together with us for this purpose?
I so am.
Members of the congregation, will you join Reverend Sean in supporting this shared ministry? Will you share with her the joys and heartaches of loving this community through its celebrations and its trials? Will you share your stories, your wisdom, your goods, your talents, so that we will flourish? Will you forgive the mistakes and love her through the disagreements that are inevitable in every relationship? Will you encourage her learning and growth so that we too will also learn and grow?
We will. We offer you a free pulpit, the cooperation of our hearts and hands, and our resolute goodwill as you take up your work among us. We pledge ourselves to be partners in the ministry of our liberal faith and walk with you in unity of spirit with the bonds of love.
Reverend Sean, will you serve this congregation as our settled minister? Will you share with us the joys and heartaches of loving this community through its celebrations and its trials? Will you forgive the mistakes that we made and love us through the disagreements that are inevitable in any relationship? Will you share your stories and the stories of our heritage with us? Will you love our children and youth, welcoming them into the life of our community? Will you speak the truth to us in love, strive for justice, and guide us in our seeking? Will you walk with us as our settled minister?
I will. I take up the ministry to which you have called me with great joy and a deep sense of responsibility. I pledge to honor all that you have entrusted to me and to fulfill the offices of this ministry with integrity and compassion. I pledge to walk with you in unity of spirit with the bonds of love.
With this covenant, we, the members of the Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church, do hereby install you, Sian Wiltshire, as the minister of our congregation.
After 2 years of interim ministry, an intensive search process, and your thrill of the actual call of Reverend Sean into this ministry, and then the fullness of your fall ministry startup, you may still be catching your breath for that, right? Yeah, exactly. So here we are today in this sweet spot of celebration. But this installation isn't just about celebrating. It isn't just about singing all these fabulous songs, although you have to know that I would not miss a chance to sing with Beth Syverson and Reverend Jason Shelton. Oh my goodness, right? And this is not just about reminding everyone that you enjoy a shared ministry of professional leadership and engaged laity. This day is about reawakening everyone, the minister, church members, us visiting clergy and visiting friends, to the yeses that you and that we carry in our minds and in our hearts and in our guts. But those yeses that can sometimes get covered up in all that day-to-day business of just making church happen. Have you felt that? Yeah. So part of this awakening process today is giving a charge to your minister. And the charge is a little bit like giving advice, so please know that I was beyond delighted when that request came in. But I like to think of it more as an electrical charge, giving a little extra zap to all that amazing energy and Reverend Sean that you all saw and that you loved and that you wanted to bind yourselves to in ministry. And so, here's your zap. Reverend Sean, I charge you to keep the pastor awake inside you. I charge you to love up these people. But don't stop with just these folks within your own four walls. I want you to take your love out into that community. And I want you to embrace Costa Mesa in Orange County. And I want you to love to learn this land deep in your bones. I want you to feel it. I want you to love the quirks of Orange County and all the possibilities that lie within it. There are many. I want you to get to know its streets and its beaches. I want you to see the surrounding area as your mission field. It's your parish. Set aside work time every week to just be part of this larger community. Don't spend all your work hours inside the walls of this church or in your home office. I want you to be out there, and I want you to be known, and I want you to be seen. And I want people out there to start thinking of you as their pastor, even if they never step inside these four walls. There are people out there who are hungry and yearning to be found by you. Go find them. Reverend Sean, keep the prophet awake inside you. You have a fierce and a fearless love for the world, and you got to let that love shine. Make your people uncomfortable when you need to, and let yourself be uncomfortable when you find yourself becoming complacent with the state of the world. And Reverend Sean, I want you to keep the preacher awake inside you. When you get into this pulpit, I want you to preach the word of love from your heart and your soul and your gut. I want you to preach on what scares you, what amazes you, what astonishes you, and what delights you. I want you to preach as that pastor and as that prophet. Your people are hungry for nourishment, and give them the hope and inspiration that they come in here longing for week after week. I'm not talking about a naive kind of optimism that you might just get up here and glibly say, but an optimism that is born in that reality of knowing suffering and brokenness. And knowing that we can rise up out of that, and you are going to preach out of that, and that message of universal love that says that we can and we will heal the world together. I was going to leave it at those three things because, you know, people can very easily remember 3 points. But as I was thinking about these 3 things that I feel like are so important for you to carry into this ministry with Orange Coast, I have to tell you people that I got a little bit tired. I was like, really? I am charging Sean to go be and do all of that? And so this last foundational piece that I charge you with is to pay attention to your prayer life. Pay attention to your prayer life. And on those days that you are so exhausted that you feel like you can't even swing your legs out of bed, make time to pray. And on the days that you are so frustrated with your church work and you wonder, why in the world did I choose ministry again and again? Make time to pray. And on those days that the holy feels so far away from you and you wonder, will I ever feel that connection again? Make time to pray. promise me that you will do that above all else that you hear today? She said she would. And so with her sweet and certain and smiling, I will. Reverend Sean, I hereby declare you are all charged up. Yes, as the truth of the matter is, this minister was all charged up before any of us ever stepped in the room today. So please go out and love the world. Amen on you and blessings on your ministry here.
Well, having served as Sean's internship supervisor a few years ago, I can't tell you a lot about that, because it's confidential. But I can tell you this: you have chosen wisely. It was our honor to affirm Sean's call to ministry when we ordained her in Nashville 2 years ago. And it is a joy to be here representing our congregation as you fulfill that mission to get her out there into the world of ministry and installing her as your minister. I'm so proud. And so I bring you greetings from the congregation in Nashville, which loves you very much. But this is not about Sean. It's about shared ministry. Because Sean has a part to play, but it is only a part. She cannot do this alone. So my job is to speak to you, this congregation, my band of fellow heretics. We come by honestly heresy. You know, we come from a long line of heretics. Our name, Unitarian Universalist, those are two heresies. You know what I mean by heresy? It means we go against the rules. The rules say that we're not supposed to do that. Back in the good old days, if you said you were a Unitarian or a Universalist, you got burned at the stake. Let's talk about a fire of commitment, shall we? But we don't make people nervous anymore. They mostly just ignore us. Which means I don't think we're really doing our job very well. Amen. What if we change that? What could we do that would get us burned today? I'm going to tell you a story about another group of heretics from long, long ago. They were called the Donatists. That's not donuts. Donatists. They were a group in North Africa that had been a schismatic group. They'd broken away from the church in Rome, and the question came up about the people who were following the Donatists. So the Donatists were bishops and priests who had been ordained, and there was a question about apostolic succession. Well, you're thinking, God, we're getting this Catholic stuff today if you were here this morning. We're getting a lot of Catholic stuff today. So they were concerned about apostolic succession, which is that if the bishop lays hands on the minister, and every bishop has had their hands laid on by a bishop who goes back and goes back and goes back to Peter. And you can trace it all the way back. And it matters, right? Because Peter got the commission from Jesus. Okay, so this matters. We have the line. So when you have people who break off, and then they start ordaining people, and they start ordaining people, and the line's not clear anymore, the question was, the people who receive sacraments from these broken away people, are the sacraments valid? And it matters. It mattered back then. Now this is 1,500 years ago. It mattered because if you receive the sacraments, it means you get out of hell, right? If you die with the valid sacraments in your system, you get out of hell. This is a good thing. Remember hell? We've heard about hell? So the question is, the state of a person's soul depended on whether the sacrament was validly officiated. When we were in seminary, in Catholic seminary, we had a case study around this, and the way we put it was, if some guy, and of course it was a guy, if some guy puts on priestly vestments and comes in and celebrates Mass, would transubstantiation happen? You know transubstantiation? Oh, so this is good. We're going really heavy-duty Catholic now. Okay, so transubstantiation is when the physical transformation in form, the bread becomes the flesh, and the blood, the wine becomes blood, and this really happens, like really. I know, it's crazy, but it's truth. It really happens, right? So, fake priest, real people, does transubstantiation happen? And it matters because it has to happen for the sacrament to be valid. And the church said, yes, that the sacrament was valid but illicit. So it was good, but you got there illegally. They said that the ministry was valid because of the faith of the people. It's valid because the people said yes, not because the minister had some sort of magical words that she could say to make it happen. This is my hope for you, Orange Coast. I charge you with valid but illicit ministry. With shared ministry that breaks down all the rules and expectations, which breaks down the walls of division and selfishness, which knows that a yes is all it takes to change the world. I charge you with seeking out those whose worth and dignity has been denied by the larger society, those who are on the margins, those too often declared invalid, who are desperate for our message of boundless hope and redeeming love, and let them change you. I charge you with seeking out those whose worth and dignity has been most affirmed by the larger society, those of power and privilege, whose secret longing is to have their hidden brokenness mended, and their unnamed wounds held with tender mercy, and let them change you. I charge you with loving the hell out of this world by creating a heaven, a beloved community here in this place, where our differences are celebrated, our varying gifts are nurtured, and our service to one another changes us all. I charge you with risk and relationship that takes you out of the secure comfort of the way we've always done it and into the uncertain footing of real and radical welcome, where the needs of the other always come before your own. I charge you with shouldering your part of the responsibility for shared ministry, with holding both Sean and yourselves accountable for living the values you proclaim, with meeting challenges and obstacles head on with courage and with love and with compassion. I charge you with celebrating the gift of your life together, the successes and the blessings, the good news the world so desperately needs to hear. And I charge you with growing this congregation together, not because you need their money to build that fancy new sanctuary, but because Unitarian Universalism saves lives. And our destiny as a people of faith is inescapably tied to that saving message reaching as many people as possible. I charge you with heresy. I charge you with yes. Who's got a match?
It really hit me as I was sitting there. Wow, I'm really here. This is it. I want to thank my colleagues for being here. Those from all over the district and all over the country to be here. All those that have shaped me to be the minister that I wanted to be for you. I want to tell you a little story. When I was in seminary, I was speaking to a very wise minister. I actually don't remember her name. I think she was a district executive. I was doing a project. But I remember she said this to me. She said, "Out there is a congregation that is waiting for you. They're waiting for you to do the work now so that you can be the minister that they need." That struck me really hard. And I have been working so hard for you. That was almost 10 years ago. I've been working hard. I've been thinking about you, waiting for you. I didn't know where you would be. I didn't know what you would look like, but when I met you, I knew I had found my congregation. So thank you for waiting. It's been a long time coming. So now, my blessed, blessed community, let's go and love the hell out of this town.